Hello, welcome to something. We don't actually know what the title,
will
is.
Be there.
Or, yeah, the title is what it is. The other thing is, I'm Alex, and I'm joined here by
Rory,
Connor,
Alex 1,
another Alex,
and Luke.
Okay, hello. So that was kind of the first thing that I wanted to talk about because obviously, I don't think we could say we've been on a hiatus. I feel like it's just been a longer week than normally we would have.
Yeah, a lot of shit happening this week.
there was a time skip.
Hasn't been a hiatus, we just quit for a while.
I think
the
last major thing we did was probably play Pachisi.
We had the Pachisi tournament?
Yeah, that was pretty major.
There was major. And then there was the hot sauces with the fries, where we were dunking them in the bottle. But that was a long time.
No, that was well before. That was at
That would have been the Mill Woods house, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember timelines, man.
So basically, the first thing I wanted to talk about was we need to come up with what this actually is. I don't think it can't be the ABOPcast continued. I feel like the ABOPcast has unfortunately passed away the ripe old age of 90, however many episodes. And this is birthed from the ashes of whatever
Pobacast.
we were doing before. So it's the ABOPcast remix, the ABOPcast redux. I don't know what the
non-committal ABOPcast alternative.
The cast formerly known as ABOP.
Yeah.
ABOPcast 2, episode 1. I don't know.
Well, as always, we find out what it is on the way.
Okay, so what a lot of when they redo a show, they don't name it just
Reboot.
Yeah,
it's like Twin Peaks: The Return.
Well, yeah, what they usually do is the record, ABOP the record,
Vengeance.
The recasting.
I was also gonna say because Star Trek has there's Star Trek obviously there's Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, other Star Trek.
Okay, so this is ABOP bunker because of our setting is a little bit more bunker-like.
It is, yeah, okay.
ABOP old.
And as far as maybe the canon of this podcast is that the world outside is fucked, it's fire everywhere.
Well, I mean,
not necessarily untrue.
And there's just so much fire that we went down to this bunker and we have to share our thoughts about.
Unfortunately, some other members did not make it.
Yeah.
They died in separate rabies incidences. So they both got rabies.
It was
but not
really
at the
weird,
same time.
and it was separed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was separate, but it was both they were both very, very, very rabid, very intense.
The craziest part was that Maddie bit me and I recovered.
I was so impressed.
Yeah, you don't normally get over rabies, and I somehow did. So here we are.
I hope he turns up somewhere.
And so he didn't come by. Was it last week?
No, he said he was going to, and then did not.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny that the cake picture you sent freaked him out because he was like, "Oh my god, you baked me a cake and it didn't show up." But,
it's literally just, and again, whoever's editing this can easily find it. If you Google birthday cake Matt or something, and it just said "Welcome home, Matt." It made us "Welcome home, Matt"
on Nick's birthday.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make him feel bad, but I thought it was funny too.
It was
obviously.
I really thought he was going to show up too. It seemed.
I thought he was going to until the day. It was we said, "Hey, we're hanging out on such and such day," and he said, "Oh, I'll be there." So we gave him the address and blah blah blah. And then on the day, he didn't say anything, and at that point, I was like, "He's not."
Yeah, because there was some activity in the group text, and
I mean, he does have children, so
that's fair. That is very fair.
Yeah.
Whatever, we'll just keep pestering him. Eventually, he will.
He's got years of stories to bring, right?
Yeah, seriously.
We need his backlog.
Okay, so
I was gonna say, normally you have a story from
I've been
from
trying
work,
to think. I
from
don't have
just
really
anything.
any work stories right now.
I should have told you to come up
Think
with
of
some
stuff.
before.
Yeah,
no.
I've been finding that my memory's not very good. The other day, Emily was like, "Remember that time you told the story about pooping on the floor?" And I was like, "I don't remember that." And then I had to think.
Wait, do you not remember the time you told the story, or do you not remember the story? The
I don't even
original
remember
story
the events.
itself?
oh my god, we've heard that story many times.
Well, can you guys tell me if I remember it?
If I remember correctly, you were at the Knights of Columbus Club for the annual New Year's dinner, right?
No, it was a
Knights of
Mason's
Columbus.
temple.
Yeah. Oh, right, sorry. My bad. I'm getting my wires crossed.
Was it not a story about you being very sick
Okay, so that's the one where I pooped on my foot, which I suppose it probably went on the floor.
Not
That
this
might
one.
be it.
No, I'm thinking of the one where you're rocking poop out behind you.
Tell me about that one.
Yes, tell me more.
Isn't that the pooping on your foot story where you're like kneeled in front of the toilet?
See, okay, that is
And
you guys are all thinking the same story. I do remember that.
Yeah.
The way
I like how we started this with like, this isn't the old ABOPcast. The literal first story is a poop story.
It's the
Say
same
that.
poop story.
Nothing has changed.
I think I've been able to piece
We're
together
gonna be
based
able
off
to
of like
line this story for years to come. Don't
this
worry.
one's much tamer than pooping on your foot. I feel like that. This one, I think I was just standing in front of the shower to go in, and I like farted after I was hungover. I think because this is Emily telling me the story I told her once, I guess, and then like a little poo came out, and I was like, "Whoa, I gotta be careful today. That's weird." And I think that was it.
Have you ever had diarrhea so bad that it truly came out like completely involuntarily, like in like zero control over it?
No.
Because I just one time I remember their timing was remarkably unlucky.
This
because
really is just the shortest sound skip.
it was grade 9 and we were going on a field trip to go rock climbing that day and I had horrible
This
diarrhea.
is the worst time to have
And
diarrhea.
I really was close to going to school because I wanted to go on this rock climbing trip because rock climbing is a fun activity.
Unless you've got bad diarrhea.
But no, I made the correct choice staying home that day because man, I've never had it where I'm literally just like sitting there and all of a sudden, oh no, it's out of my body. How did this happen? It's like it was like totally binary. There was no transition. It was just it was in my body and then it was out of my body, and I had no input.
Have any of you tried laxatives before? 'Cause
No.
I feel like it's kind of like
Well,
that.
you don't.
Well,
You should try something.
Yeah, I was really
Hey bro, have you done excellent? Peer pressure, yeah.
Have you ever had them?
Have you ever ridden the blue rocket? Jesus Christ. No,
I know I have.
I do have stories like that, but it's too sad to share. So
Fair
it's
enough.
been a dark time of my life. So we're not gonna
You
go there.
think Luke's wasn't a dark time in his life? He didn't get to go
It was so
climbing.
sad. I stayed home and I watched Transformers on TV that day.
The
And
movie
it's-
or the show?
The movie, the
Oh,
show.
yeah, well, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it, I was in grade 9, so it's not like I hated it, but it, it's not a good movie or anything.
No.
I don't know why I just remember that. I actually remember. No, okay. Oh no, never mind. I'm getting crossed up with another.
So you go,
situation.
can you tell us?
No, it's really not a story. I should stop.
Okay, I was gonna try in a way to like get us off of this track. I was gonna
Thank
say, you
you.
mentioned Transformers and watching it as a kid. I was trying to think of like movies you watched as a kid that you loved, but you're not sure if it actually holds up.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I was thinking this is because like it's Homecoming, right? Spider-Man: Homecoming. That's the name of the movie. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new
Well,
one.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what the actual like.
Well, the old one now. The new one is out in like 2 weeks.
It's called No Way Home.
No Way Home. That's what it is. I'm gonna have Home in it.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Well, yeah,
Well,
well,
they all have Home in
The
it.
reason I'm bringing that up is because like the big thing in the trailer for me like was
I
I
didn't see the trailer. I don't want spoilers.
Oh really?
What?
I assume it's with the old people.
Yeah, it was like
They're not
when Dr. Octopus shows up because like as a teenager like I loved Spider-Man 2. I like wow, what
the
a,
pre 9/11 Spider-Man.
yeah, pre-9/11 Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire.
Spider-Man 2 came out after 9/11, didn't it?
Yes,
I guess Doc
yeah,
Ock,
the
yes.
first one.
He specifically is post 9/11, but
Yeah.
original Spider-Man is a 2000.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, damn, I'm so happy they found this movie from my childhood and they're referencing it. This is great. And I actually like stopped and started to think about Spider-Man 2, and it's like, it's fun, but I don't think it's actually as great as I remember.
I
it
think
being.
it's pretty good.
Do you think so?
Well, only because of Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
and
like,
Doc
he
Ock.
definitely
He's the
sells
best
it.
part.
He's an excellent casting choice,
Yeah.
for sure.
He's the best part.
Well, I think it's also you kind of have to compare it to the other contemporary movies that are superhero movies that came out around
Yeah.
that time.
Certainly at the
It's
time,
basically
yeah.
like that and the fucking X-Men
Yeah.
series, and X-Men are not very good.
See, that was another one because I remember X2 came out almost the same time as Spider-Man 2, and I remember also Teenage Rory also loved that, and I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah.
Okay, Spider-Man 2 and X2, those are like the extremes in my mind. Like Spider-Man 2 is still like one of the only genuinely good superhero movies I've ever seen in my life. Like in terms of like it being just so satisfying and like the it's been a while since I've seen it actually. But I remember liking it a lot.
Which is
I
the
think
whole
that's
point of this
That's
conversation.
what I'm going with. Is like I'm just wondering, like, are there?
Admittedly, I have also not rewatched that specifically recently, obviously, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's good because like we watched there's a cameraman over there off screen. but we watched all of the X-Men movies, like literally every single X-Men
Nice.
movie.
Oh my god, that's
Can
rough.
you confirm X2 and X3 are bad?
Yes, absolutely yes.
X3, I remember.
X2 is better than
Yeah.
X3, but that's only because X3 is absolute dog
Yes.
shit.
X3 is the first movie I remember being mad at.
Oh,
And
no.
from that moment on, I hated every movie I have ever seen.
To explain partially why it's
broke
bad
that
is
day,
like
Rory.
the movie starts and fucking Cyclops dies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and
bullshit.
Jean Grey kills him.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, what? Why? You've been setting up this weird love triangle for all three movies, and then they're just like, and we don't want to do that anymore. He's
Yeah,
dead now.
exactly.
And it doesn't make any sense, and
Yeah.
they've introduced new characters, and
Well,
it's just
that-
like, there's so much going on.
They have that, and also like Magneto and Mystique break up in like the first half hour. It's like that sucks. They were a great like duo. Why would you?
And also, canonically, like, she's his right-hand man.
Yeah.
For always.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just poor decision.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Luke is a big Marvel fan. Sorry, not to cut you off. Luke loves the Marvel movies. So.
Yeah, I see all these posters along the wall. That's awesome.
I unironically love the Marvel movies. They are a lot of fun. I'm not going to say they're good movies.
They are a
but they're-
remarkable act of coordination
Yeah,
on a
I just-
production standpoint.
if I want to go and turn my brain off for 2 to 3 hours, I'm going to go watch Marvel because it's fun.
Yeah.
Some of them are. Some of them are. not.
They're all at least redeemable for
Yeah.
the most part.
Yeah, just bombastic spectacle
Yeah,
and
I mean-
over the topness.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not wild about them, but they are what they promise to be. They're
Exactly.
like, here's a movie you cannot think about for 2 hours.
It's a superhero movie. What else do you want? They have big explosions, catchy phrases.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of movies that made you angry, the first movie that I walked out of a theater and was like, well, that was garbage, was Aragon.
That was garbage.
Yes.
And I remember my mom specifically being mad at me because we had read the book together. Like, I read it and then she read it, and we were like, oh, there's a movie, let's go see the movie. And we walk out and I was like, well, that sucked.
And then your mom.
But there was a big line of people. And she was like, hey, shut up! She was like elbowing me, and then she was like, okay, yeah, it was bad, but like,
Don't root for them.
yeah, don't ruin it for them.
They've
And I was
already
like,
bought their tickets.
They've got 2 hours of hope left until their showing ends.
realistically, if you see the movie, it's about 15 minutes before the hope wears
It doesn't last
It
long.
doesn't last long. But yeah, that just reminded me of that soul-crushing
So
experience.
you didn't walk out of that movie.
No, we stayed for the whole thing, so like, maybe you get
Was there any movie that you've ever actually walked out of?
We walked out of a movie together.
Yes,
Taylor Swift
but that
fun.
was only because we showed up 10 minutes late and we were so fucking lost that we couldn't.
Well, we'd already also seen
Ironically, I
another
don't think
movie
you would
that
have
was
been
more
not
exciting.
lost either, because the whole point is to be
Also,
really
we
lost.
just left The Girl with the
We
Dragon
watched
Tattoo,
Joe Dragon
so
Tattoo.
we were
It's a
like,
very good movie.
that movie was exciting, and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy is very slow.
Yes.
I don't remember liking that movie.
It's
I haven't
not
seen it
bad.
in a
I went
long
back and
time.
rewatched it.
I actually saw it.
It's good. It's
Tinker
just,
Tailor?
yeah.
I still haven't gone back to rewatch
It's-
it.
it's
I
not-
like to.
It's not a bad film. It's just after Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, where the last half hour is just like balls to the wall craziness, going into
Yes.
like a really slow burn spy
Yes,
thriller.
they're very different movies.
It was.
But I really think we were like 10 minutes late, and that was the
We were
main.
also 10
That was the
minutes late,
main reason. Like
Oh,
you can't go in a movie like that 10 minutes.
Yeah, we were 10 minutes late, and we
exposition.
just left a more exciting film.
Yeah.
So it was not a good combo.
Yeah.
But that's the only movie
I
that
don't
walked
count
out.
that because that wasn't like I'm not holding that against the
Mhm.
movie. I'm more putting that on me for having walked out. There were only 2 movies I ever walked out in theaters just because they were so annoyingly dull. Sorry, actually, it was only one. The other one I'm thinking of was Resident Evil Extinction because that was the movie I repeatedly considered walking out of, and then decided to stick with because they were like building to some sort of like cool boss fight at the end, and then it was like 5 seconds of bullshit. Someone gets thrown against a wall, and then it's done. And I was like, fuck, this is so annoying. But the one that I actually walked out of was the A-Team. Do you guys remember there was an
I do
A-Team movie
remember.
from 2008,
Yeah.
2009?
My family was at the theater the day you walked out of that film. We ran into each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, because we were like, oh, I was like, hey, Luke, and my parents were like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And you were like, I just walked out of the A-Team. And my mom was like, oh, I really like that movie. And you were like, oh, yeah, it just wasn't for me. And then
Oh,
you kind of like went away.
Oh no.
I really have
don't
never
remember
been
that.
invited back to Connor's house since then.
That's true. Well, no, the other time we went after that was when we watched The Raid and The Raid 2 before we saw. No, The Raid. We watched The Raid before we went to
Yes.
theater to see The Raid.
That
2.
was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That as a contrast, that was a movie I saw in theaters 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah.
Damn.
It was very good.
The only movie I've ever walked out on was Die Hard 5. And that's mostly because I love the first Die Hard movie so much, and like even like I know like every sequel is progressively a little worse than the original, and you're never gonna get that high. But even like the second one is fine. It's the first movie at an airport. Die Hard.
That big check mark in my book. So
Well,
think
I
of
mean-
an airport. Ooh,
Yeah, that's fine.
perfect movie.
The third one is okay. It has Samuel L. Jackson and Jeremy Irons, so that's fun. Die Hard 4 is very silly, but John McClane is still a fun enough character, and I feel like they still get him right. In the fifth one, he is so not the same character
That's
you
because
like.
Bruce Willis is checked out permanently.
That is exactly it. Like Bruce. Well, because like, the problem is like the whole point of Die Hard is he's the wrong man in the wrong place at the wrong time. So like anytime he gets into danger, he's like, oh fuck, and runs away from it. It's
Yes,
like,
but now it's been reduced to him just like grunting and being an old man.
yeah, and like in Die Hard 5, there's a specific moment where like, because they're in, I don't remember the whole plot. I know they're in Russia, but then like he's like in a room with this other guy, and then like suddenly the Russian bad guys burst in with machine guns, and the first thing he does rather than run and hide, he's like he picks up a machine gun and starts shooting back. And it's like John McClane would absolutely never do that. He would just start swinging it and like hit the
The
deck.
appeal of the first one was like the guerrilla tactics.
Yeah.
Like that was
He was just
that's
a
where
guy.
it all comes from. That's so unique compared to every other action movie. That's why it works.
Especially in the 80s, like, 'cause,
Yeah.
like everyone was that guy who's like, you come at me, I'm just gonna shoot you, and so this was
Yeah.
like a nice change of pace.
And it was, and I guess I think the contained scale worked very well for the stories.
Yes.
Because I think every Die Hard thereafter, they're raising the stakes. Like they go to an
Yes.
airport, then they go to San Francisco. The whole city is at risk. or
Also,
whatever.
so every Christmas, my sister and I watch Die Hard,
It's a
and
Christmas movie.
every year I appreciate more and more how perfect of a movie it is made. Like every shot means like lends itself to something in the movie. Every plot event that happens either sets something up or adds another layer to something that was already developed. Every line of dialogue is necessary,
It's a great movie.
either for the character or for the plot. It's like just like it's. I know it sounds dumb to be like, oh, this is a perfectly made movie, but it's like it really is. It's like
No, I mean,
everything
I think
works so
in the
well.
context of film, like you don't literally mean it's a flawless film.
No, like, it's got problems, but like
You
as far
mean,
as
like,
just like
it understood perfectly what it was intending to do, and it
It's perfectly crafted.
Captured
yeah,
that
no,
very
like just
well.
everything about it is just done so well that I can't help but appreciate it.
Yeah.
The only thing I've ever like gotten close to walking out of, it was not a movie, it was like a physical play.
Was it Rent?
Yeah, I might have told you about this before. It was so bad, but me and Emily didn't walk out because we had brought someone along. Like, well, it's rude to like be like,
Like,
this sucks, and go home when someone else is like,
Like you figure out how to get home yourself.
was it like a big production of it, or was
yeah,
it like a
it was
high
like
school
the
production?
It was
one
the
that got
Broadway
like
across
the,
Canada.
okay.
yeah, Broadway across Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you just not? Was it not well
You
done?
couldn't tell what anyone was saying. The production
Oh,
was
okay.
terrible. It was like, and then the plot made no sense because, well, Rent I don't think makes sense, but it also makes no sense when
It does when it's done well.
yeah, man, it was.
Well,
garbage.
I remember
It
you
was
were
so
talking about
pointless.
specific technical problems that they had.
Yeah, that was like, that's like one straight up unforgivable thing about it is technical problems, and they just burst into singing over nothing, and also you couldn't tell what they were
Well,
singing.
you're also not the big fan of musicals in general.
Me and Emily have been to like tons of live theater. We are like hardcore critics now. We had season passes.
Really?
That's why we were like, this fucking sucks. We gotta get the fuck out of this. But we didn't.
Well,
But it sucked.
I remember you were describing it because you were very upset about it at the time. Like you
Well, it was like
mentioned.
over $100 to go.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And you were saying something about like they had like a cool, like there was supposed to be a cool moment with a spotlight falling on someone.
Oh yeah, and then it's like, well, gee.
And the spotlight's just like next to them. They had to step into it.
Wow,
Like,
this
that's
is a-
painful. Like in that moment, every single person in the entire auditorium was
Yeah.
aware of the failure.
Yeah.
It could not be.
Yeah, those are rough, especially at a live show.
Yes. We used to do improv all the time, and now the thought of just like of like live theater performance actually gives me so much more anxiety than it used to.
Oh, yeah?
So it's like almost like I'm less like theater in general is so much less appealing to me now because of that.
So you would not want to do improv or be on stage or anything?
Oh no.
Hmm.
God no. That's part of
I got
what
bad news.
No, I don't have a story because like if I paid money for a thing, I'm gonna sit through it.
That
I
is
don't care if
fair,
it's
yeah.
bad, but like I've invested money in this. I'm not going to waste the extra $8 that leaving would.
It's
cost
about
me,
having
you know?
self-respect and being able to value your own time.
My
more
time is
than that.
worthless. Absolutely,
Yeah.
completely 100% worthless. The only time I can think of one is that like I actually had to put on a film screening when I was in school, and I asked Rory for a recommendation for like an Alberta filmmaker, and we got like he set me up with someone. They sent me the footage and blah blah blah, and I screened it, and there were like 2 people that showed up to it, but not my fault. Like, we did everything we were supposed to do, and then there were fuck ups on like the academic side of things, where like they fucked up sending out the email to tell everyone that this thing was happening, and nobody showed up, and it was just like, well, I mean,
You
like,
tried.
I have to be here for class, so it's fine, but like, there's no reason to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I could just turn this off, and nothing would ever happen, and it's fine.
I hope the movie was okay, whatever you screened.
Did the 2 people walk out?
I worked on it. It was great.
Yeah. There was one scene specifically that I remember that was weird, and it's because it's filming about this person and her struggles with being an actor, a trans actor. And there was a weird scene where they just filmed her working out in a weight room, and they put her doing a row machine in slow motion to like this sad, sappy song. And it was very like, the image of a person rowing in slow motion
It's just
it's weird and like nonsensical with like the narration going over it. It's like, you should have picked different B-roll for this.
Nah, man, that's a literary device. That's called juxtaposition. If you put different things together that don't go together, well, then you make something brand new. It's like alchemy.
In this case, they did not make gold. They made something bad, but it's fine. Other than that, it was
It's all right.
no, exactly. It's like just that one specific scene stuck out in my brain. The rest of the movie was totally like well shot, well put together, an interesting person.
That reminds me of just a quick feel-good story I got. My aunt texted me yesterday, and she had like sent me a picture of some credits on a Christmas movie she just watched. It's like, is this you in the credits? And it was Rory, script supervisor. And I was like, that is me! And I was so happy because someone in my family watched something I worked on.
And did they even do it on purpose?
No, it was completely accidental because.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah, well, because like it was the last movie I worked on because I hadn't worked on a movie in 2 years. Anyway,
Feel good.
Feel good part of it was so it was just basically like an Edmonton-made Christmas Hallmark movie. It was actually really fun. Like it was a really neat set to work on. It was as great as the lead actress on it. I'm afraid I can't remember her name, but like her main job is she does Christmas Hallmark movies. So like she knows the beats. She knows what's expected. She knows how she's supposed to say certain lines. She was actually like, are there any mentions of like angels or Christianity in this movie? Because that's always a red flag, and we don't know. And then set deck was like, we'll remove the angels in the background, I guess. So like she kind of knew like what would fly, what wouldn't. Anyway, so yeah, but then like when she wasn't being recorded, she was like just a really cool person who would just like cuss out and just like basically let all the frustrations out, so she no longer has to be this character.
I can imagine being a Hallmark actor would take its toll
It
after a
absolutely-
while
yeah.
because it that's pretty soul draining.
It really is like.
But hey,
I mean, good honor though.
Yeah.
Good honor. That's impressive.
Well, I mean, it's a steady
Somebody's
gig.
gotta do it.
It's a steady gig because they shoot.
Hallmark movies aren't entirely necessary, but
What's weird? Yeah, my mom adores them, but also my dad adores them. He doesn't like romantic movies, but every Christmas he's just like, "Oh yeah, I've been watching all these
That
Hallmark movies."
sounds
And I'm
like
like,
the plot.
why?
Yes.
We
Christmas
know each
spirit.
other, but now we both love Hallmark movies.
how the Christmas spirit overtakes your
There you
family.
go. Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that was just a quick feel-good
Nice.
story.
You were saying, speaking of alchemy.
Oh no, I was just nothing. I was just
Okay.
making a
Does
joke.
anyone have any other segue to another movie that they hated, that they made them angry or anything? Because if not, we'll just talk about.
I mean, I
alchemy
have
now.
a list of movies I hate.
Okay.
These
never
are the
mind.
film guys.
Dune being
This is what
top
they
of the
do.
list.
No, I
I'm
didn't.
talking theater movies you walked out of.
I didn't hate Dune. I was
Yeah, let's
just,
talk about
I was just bored with Dune.
Really?
Yeah, I was in it for the first hour because I was really into the world building and like, yeah, space politics is dry, but I appreciated that they were developing it and like doing a good effort to make you understand what the hell's going on. My problem is that immediately once, spoilers if you haven't seen Dune, once their little city on the desert gets nuked and everyone dies and it's just Space Jesus and his mom basically running around on their own, I felt like, hey, everything I was really into in the first hour is no longer on the screen. And like, I get the whole idea. It's like, this is why they're on the run. This is why he needs to fight back. But I would have liked to just keep the camera on that puck rather than this other thing happening now, because I was not as invested in them running through the desert trying to find I can't remember their name.
The Fremen.
The Fremen, yeah. It was like I was not invested in their search for that as much as I was. Here's the Duke. Here's the Baron. They're at loggerheads. He sabotaged all the equipment so they can't get spice. What a bastard! I'm like, yeah. What are they gonna do? Oh, okay, I guess they're just gonna fucking kill them all.
I guess that is sort of the problem because it's an adaptation of a book,
Yes.
so the climax is not at the climax of the film does not line up to where the climax of the book would be, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
you get
What's
this,
the
like,
climax
big,
of the film?
the exploding of the.
Well,
the other problem is
It's
that
not halfway.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like that. Traditionally would be like a climactic moment, but then we still have to continue going, and we start setting up what's going on in the second half of the the next movie, right?
Yeah.
So it's like after we get this the big bad seems to have won and everything's dead, and it's like that's the end of Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yes.
It's like the bad guy has defeated the good guys, and now they have to regroup and go and figure out what the fuck to do now that everyone is dead and everything's bad. But in the film, it doesn't actually end there, and then it's like, okay, well, actually,
It just keeps going.
it has to keep going. So then you get this like slower paced thing where it's like, okay, now we're on our own. We have to figure out a way to get to the next people, and then the actual climax of the film is, I guess, his knife fight, which is the knife fight, which is like the stakes are obviously much lower at that.
Well, for me, the climax was different, but that it was the moment where the worm stands in front of him.
Or the worm, I suppose, as well.
Because it's like, that's the foreshadowing. Spoilers.
In the spoilers, there are a secondary spoilers warning.
Yeah, well, that's only if you've read the book, but I really enjoyed Dune. I totally get the pacing issue because it did feel a bit weird, but it did also feel like really true to the book, which is why it created that issue.
Yeah, and like one thing it did make me do is it made me want to read the book because my whole impression while watching it, like even just going to space politics, is like this would make a great book because it could take its time and then I could just like savor this rather than having to put all of this into an hour period to make sure you understand what's up.
And, despite how long the movie is, because it's a 2.5 hour movie, at the end of it, I was like, I wish this was 3.5 hours.
That's exactly what I thought.
Because
it had everything all in one. I could see.
Not even that. The total length would be 6.5 hours. I'm thinking, like my ideal Dune movie, because despite the length of the movie, they still left out a ton of very enriching details that the world.
Like the thing when we got out of the theater, you had gone to the bathroom at one point. When you came out, you were like, "Did I miss this dinner scene?" And they were like, "What dinner scene? Like there was nothing here." And you were like, "Darn!" Like that's the one thing I wanted was dinner.
Well, that was just one example that had come to mind. But lots of character development and
a Snyder cut of that film would be good. Well, but like that idea, right? Where you get the extra.
Of course, if it comes out in the future, I would love to see it. You were saying so you aren't really as compelled by images of a guy walking around the desert for long periods of time.
Okay, no, here's the thing. It's like you can do people walking in a desert for a long period of time. That is essentially the plot of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Well, I was gonna say the same director, Denis Villeneuve. I don't know if you saw Blade Runner 2049.
I did not.
A large chunk of that movie is Ryan Gosling walking around in the desert, and it's a very compelling movie.
See, my thing isn't walking around in the desert being in and of itself.
Ansandi is also.
I've not seen Ansandi.
Also,
I really need to see it.
Not to cut you off.
No,
Sorry.
I was gonna say, like that in and of itself isn't bad. My main thing is I didn't feel there was anything like compelling to walk through the desert. So the thing is so they get kicked out of the city, they camp. They walk to the one old water factory.
Yeah.
They just hang around for a bit. They get into a plane. They fly. They crash the plane. They walk some more. They get to the people whose name starts with F. Fremen. I do not know why.
I fell asleep during the film.
I almost did. My main thing is like if there was anything accompanying them going from point to point to point, such as like if Batista was chasing them, or if the knife guy who we've met is somehow more of an antagonistic force that makes defeating him at the end of the movie feel like a goal to be obtained.
And I think they tried to do that with the visions.
Yes.
It just, they were a little sparse. And again, in the book, like those visions are pages of exposition and like this enriching experience. But in the movie, it's like, here's 2 minutes of this guy that we're going to see for a little bit.
Yeah, right? For me, it didn't feel like there was enough of a motivating factor to make that walking through the desert compelling.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
Thing is, I'm forever biased by having like the context of the.
Yeah, well, I mean,
actual book.
a friend of mine just recently watched Lord of the Rings, and like he like ragged on the whole thing as just being dry. I'm like, it could be drier. you don't even know. You think that's just a mountain in the background? Let me tell
I
you.
was gonna say the opposite situation is the Lord of the Rings, where the movies are much better.
Yes.
There could be more singing.
More
elvish.
walking.
Yeah.
I'm biased because my dad read that to us as a bedtime story when we were kids.
yeah,
So
me too.
for me, it's always just like, the perfect book. This brings so many memories. It's very dry reading.
They are incredibly good books, but it's my god, it's a
dense.
slog to
It's,
get
it's
through.
like the most densely packed, well thought out world building.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of the thing, yeah. It's like Tolkien, he wasn't so much interested in like telling a story as much as he was like, I've invented a language, here's a world that goes with it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the impetus. So yeah, like it's not
Well,
like,
that's like George Orwell too. I feel like because 1984 wasn't like a good story, but I felt like it was a great world.
I agree.
It was all about
Just
presenting a
people
world.
remembers that.
Yeah.
yeah, well that's the thing is like the first third of, because I think it's in 3 chunks, isn't it? I don't remember. Anyway, the first third of the book when he is just doing the world building, it's like that's really interesting. And he's like, oh right, there's a plot. And the plot is so much less interesting than the first third of the movie. Book.
They're the same
They're the
thing.
same thing.
Yeah. Don't read, kids. Go watch movies. They
Yeah.
teach you the
I
same
just
lessons.
read Fahrenheit 451,
Oh, that's a
which
great book.
literally has the opposite, like moral to the story,
Oh,
which
yeah?
is essentially like,
Yes, keep books.
yeah, keep books around, and not even necessarily just books, but like stories and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like the idea is that like people are shutting themselves off from the world because they're focused on only consuming the TV and stuff,
Yes.
and books are dangerous because they make you think about things and you feel different emotions and stuff. So we
Yeah.
need to burn them and get rid of everything that makes you think and feel.
Well, that's the thing is, yeah, the idea being is trying to eradicate unhappiness, and they decide that thinking makes people unhappy, and so like,
Oh, there's a movie about that. Equilibrium.
yeah, it's a really
Another
good book.
literary masterpiece.
It's a really good book. I really liked it.
I thought it was fun. I'm also reading a Halo book right now
Yeah.
because Halo is coming out in like a week, and I went from
Oh,
Fahrenheit
oh,
451 to a novelization
What?
of
No,
Halo.
I've seen you've been playing the multiplayer a bit. What did you think of it? Because I did not enjoy it.
Oh, I really like the multiplayer.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's
significantly
super
weaker.
fun.
I had a
Like
crash.
Halo
I
3,
finally had
but-
my first crash playing Halo.
Yeah,
Because I know you were. Have you been having fewer crashes?
No, Luke finally helped me update my drivers. Which when did you buy? When did my computer get bought?
Oh yeah. Well, it was probably
20
2018.
I think earlier than that. We'll say 2018 to be generous.
But you didn't have any driver updates.
I had not updated
Oh.
since then. So 3 years old drivers, and at
Yeah.
a certain point I was like, I don't know how to do this. And I'm not gonna ask. I'm just gonna go until my computer explodes. But yeah, it finally works now. But I don't know. I think Halo's pretty fun. It's also because like I didn't get to play Halo 5 because it only came out on fucking Xbox. I don't
Yeah.
know. So literally the last time I played Halo was Halo 4,
Yeah.
and that's fucking 2014.
You played Halo 4 on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's how old it is. So
Yeah.
it's. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to get back into it. It feels very samey to
Yeah.
Apex a little bit.
Well, yeah, because I feel like the FPS controls are definitely converging on sort of a standard sort of scheme, and so
Yeah.
like it's very different compared to the controls of like the first Halo, and now it's kind of in a space right between Halo 5 and Halo Reach, which I think is really good. I think they need to refine that spot. It's a nice sweet spot.
There are obviously some problems with it, with like all of the game types are put into one mode. So
Yeah,
you
the
can't pick,
matchmaking
like,
is
I don't
kinda
want to play
fucked up.
fucking oddball or
Yeah,
capture the
God.
flag or whatever. But if you search for a game type, it's like you just have to.
Yes, they
pick
definitely need more
So
robust.
they have
matchmaking
that. They don't have
options.
SWAT, which is really bad because SWAT's super fun. But I
Yeah.
love the way that the mechanics work, where it's like when you're shooting at somebody, you have to shoot them enough that their shields crack, and then if you shoot them in the head, that's a one-hit kill. But shooting them in the head while they have shields up
Yeah.
doesn't actually do extra
Yeah.
damage or anything.
Unless
So
they
it's
get the god weapons that spawn all the time and people just can't.
Yeah, exactly.
the
It is.
whole
What,
time.
it
That's
is-
my biggest
It's
problem.
one of
with
those games where it's like you need to know the maps and you need
Yeah.
to know the timings of when things will spawn, because if the other guy gets the rocket launcher before you, then it's like, well,
But
fuck
it's
you, I
kind of been
guess.
the story of Halo since day one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
of
So,
course.
But, like,
you take
when
it
I
good
would
with
say,
that.
but I have a rocket launcher, so now the game's fun.
But it's always I just like I'm a big buff big old boy in a big purple suit of armor, and I'm punching a guy in the head, and it's like that's fun. It's fun to be colorful and a big space guy. You know?
fair.
There's nothing wrong with that. There are like again, it's like not to get too talky about it, but like obviously the fucking the battle pass progression or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
is like so stupid and very predatory. And it's like I've never been like I don't give a single goddamn rat's ass about
It hasn't
cosmetics
affected me at all.
because it's like, I don't see myself. It's first person. I can look at my gloves maybe,
Yeah.
but
Also,
I don't care.
It doesn't affect me at all, except for the fact that it makes me annoyed by just the overabundance of menus in the game.
Yes,
like
there
that
are
really
so
gets
many
me
menus.
gets me very irate.
Yeah.
My other thing is they put a battle pass in a free-to-play multiplayer, but then made an $80 campaign, and I just can't stand by that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's more out of that than just the campaign, but the other thing is it's on fucking Game Pass, so it's like $12. So play it on Game Pass, then you're fine.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I do understand. Like, I think any big multiplayer shooter going forward is almost
Oh, yeah.
certainly going to be free to play.
Yeah.
For the
I
most
don't
part.
like. Here's a battle pass that you can pay for, and then also if you want the single player content, pay full price for that.
That's just because
I don't like.
it's for different people, right? Where it's
I
like
know.
you need to get a small chunk of the Fortnite kids or whatever, or the Call of Duty kids to like come over and play your thing. Otherwise, you're fucked. So it's like you need to do stuff for them, and it's like that is obviously not for us, and that's fine. So
It's true that it is becoming increasingly hard to understand the
don't like
world of online gaming
Well,
as we
it's
get
like-
older.
Well, it's like
as
my
we get
main-
more cynical and have
Well, it's like my
less money
main
to
game
go.
is Apex Legends right now, and I bought the battle pass once, and then the battle pass has paid for itself every time, right? Like ever since, because you complete it, and then you get enough coins to buy the next one, and then you never have to pay another dollar, right?
camera died, so now
The production values one has come to expect from our We have one charger for our two cameras.
and
10 years, nothing's changed.
We've got 3 cameras right now. 2 of them are dead. Like one only having a single charger. So
We go till they all
It's
die.
been many years and nothing's changed.
it's fine. Well, we're learning. We're shaking the rust off.
been a bit.
We're learning how to banter.
I also
We
like
sit
that
in
it's
silence
black
when we
pants,
hang
black
out.
pants, khaki.
Oh, actually.
You can tell that
Yay.
We're
we're
at
old now.
Oreo.
Caca. Speaking of which,
Different.
topic I thought of. I don't have a story for it.
Yeah.
Anybody have like a situation where you don't have access to toilet paper to wipe your butt?
Oh my god.
Any stories? Anyone?
We got so far away, and we're coming right
I
back.
feel like that's a story you guys have.
Yeah, you just hop in a shower.
Oh, one time.
Never mind. I've done that.
Hey, what if you don't have access to a shower? One time, okay, so we used to spend our summers in rural Saskatchewan, and we spent all our days hanging around at the playground / the rodeo grounds. The rodeo grounds were really fun to hang around because you'd be able to go in and all through like all the compartments where they'd have like the cows and the horses and shit, and it was really great to play hide and seek and tag in there. Really fun. Anyway, I had to really take a shit one day, and I'm far away from home. The house is on the other side. Well, this is why I'm saying.
Someone had to steer us back on course.
Yes. We can't go too far from our roots, otherwise we're gonna lose our loyal fan base.
This is a story I feel like I didn't hear.
It's not much of a story actually.
Did
I
you use a cow?
I really had to take a shit, so I couldn't. I calculated there was no way I was gonna make it
You
home.
put on your rock climbing gear.
So yeah, I went into the forest and I squatted, and then I had to use a giant ass leaf from a tree to wipe my ass.
Yeah, I've used leaves before.
Yeah. So and it made me itchy. Not too
And
itchy.
it's not-
I don't
it's
think
not
it was,
poison ivy,
No, I
just
don't think it was poison
Leaves
ivy.
are not good to wipe your ass with. It's a sensitive part of the
So
body.
wait, did you have a story about this, or you just?
No, I
wanted to
didn't.
know?
Although you guys have talked, I feel like it reminded me of one where I was sick when I was camping. I got food poisoning like the night before.
I
It was the
never
worst.
camp. Anytime you're outside, it's a bad idea.
I learned my lessons.
I was going to camp this summer, but we had this horrible heat waves when we had
Yeah.
planned camp, so we had to cancel it because my
yeah.
dog would have died.
Yeah.
Like we might have lived, but my dog would have died.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah. My story is just that I was at food poisoning type, bowel excrement, that type. I don't know the word. Let it not be said. Not here. It's fine. Show. And I did actually have toilet paper though, so the story's not that bad. I was just it was I had to like run
while
out.
you were camping. That's not a story.
I'm smart. That's the story. Is that I was like, it still was bad because it was like a ravaging situation where you're up against a tree and you're like, But there was toilet paper. There's nowhere to put it. You just throw it.
I mean, it is biodegradable.
Yes, exactly. It's not my problem unless someone finds it.
Well, no, you're in the woods.
But yeah, that's what you guys reminded me of. So.
Just us in general talking about like movies and video
Yeah,
games.
right.
Like, hey, I remember that one time I took a shit in the woods, and I did have toilet paper. I wonder if no one else did. Jesus Christ.
You look like the kind of guy who wipes with the sock.
Everybody hear him.
You.
Me? Yeah. I'm with a sock.
Yeah.
But I value my socks. I have to wash it
Yeah,
afterwards.
but you don't value
You
throwing them away
Why
down.
afterward that sock is gone.
It's a perfectly good sock.
I'm gonna play poop in my washing machine.
Yeah, what?
No, that's why you
Which
throw
brings
it
us to the
away.
point of
No.
cloth diapers.
You'd rinse out the sock and then wash it.
No, but then it's still
That's
poop
nasty.
That's great.
Rory?
Well, I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, but you've also pooped in your sock, so you're
No, you
gonna have to,
pooped in your
you're
sock.
gonna have to cut your losses.
Your
No,
sock.
this is different conversation. If you poop in your sock, absolutely different conversation. You don't poop in a sock. We're saying you take it off to wipe if you got nothing else.
Yeah, my floor is pristine right now. I
Yeah,
couldn't
that's
disperse
wouldn't it be
the
awful
dirt.
if you had one sock and then you pooped in it and then you couldn't wipe your ass in the sock because there's poop in the sock? I mean, I guess you could try wiping your ass with poop
And a
inside
lot
the
of
sock.
it, it's more efficient that way. It's more efficient because the poop is in the sock and you wet your butt with the poopy sock. So now you've done two great things.
Yeah.
But then you gotta put the poop somewhere to wash the sock.
You gotta drop it out.
Like, where does the poop
Because
go?
when you throw out the sock, why are you so obsessed with preserving the sock? That sock has lived a hard life.
Like,
That
how
sock
much-
doesn't
how much
wanna
does
live
the sock
anymore.
cost you? Because that's the question. Is like I could imagine if you have like a really expensive dress sock, right? If you are forced to use that and it costs you like $70 or something,
Oh,
and then like maybe then you're at like a maybe territory. But if these are like you get like 6 of these in a pack for like.
Yeah, but I also hate buying socks, so I keep the socks that I have so I don't have to buy them.
Oh, I
Like,
love buying
sorry,
socks.
you like-
I have way too many pairs of socks.
Oh, wow.
But you like
It's very traumatic for
like
Rory.
or you dislike
Because
buying
you pooped
socks
in a
more
sock.
than you would be willing to touch shit.
Absolutely.
That's a bizarre take. I feel like that is deranged.
I told you. I was on to something. I can see it in his eyes.
I'm saying you could clean the sock. It is not dead to
Okay,
you because
this-
it has poop in it.
Because we've learned so much about you, I now have the next stage of the question,
Great.
which is
Lay it
for
on me.
Christmas, I am buying you custom socks with pictures of our faces on them.
Oh, good.
Which sock are you wiping with? Whose face?
I
Well,
wonder.
None, because I have toilet paper in my apartment.
Not for long, you won't.
Oh,
I assure you, you won't.
That's part 2 of the gift. Is he's taking the toilet
Yes.
paper back.
I
Well, then
see.
he presumably has a shower, so he can just hop in the shower. And the
Yeah,
socks.
I
The
do.
water is always off in your building.
That is actually true. They like to shut my
Yeah.
water off
Oh
at
my
random
God.
intervals.
But
Exactly.
but
I have Kleenex. I could use that.
No, you don't.
No, wiping the
Oh,
Kleenex.
wiping-
And I take
I
in
mean,
your
it's
bed
awful. I mean,
sheets,
it's awful, but if
Why are
it's
you
like
saying? Why are you saying it's bad? Kleenex, wiping with Kleenex is way better than wiping
Because
with
I'm a
toilet paper.
big, hairy man, and Kleenex is very
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
gossamer.
Yeah, but
that's
if you just
tearing
blow.
apart. Yeah.
My toilet paper has been so shitty. You must have good quality toilet paper.
Yeah, I have 3 ply, man.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, then treat yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You
you
own the
asked,
house.
so you asked the question,
Exactly,
whose
it's the
space would I
problem.
use? I would use yours because you stole my toilet paper.
Yeah.
What if you don't know that he stole it?
I'm reasonably
I
certain
think at
that if
this
my
point,
toilet paper
you-
goes missing, it's probably him. You also have like hid 8 Bibles in my house. Okay, so this is a story.
But you didn't find them all.
I
did
have
you?
not found all of them. So Alex, like years ago, you found like a stack of Bibles by your liquor store's dumpster.
Yeah.
And your way of getting rid of them is every time he comes to visit, he hides a Bible in my
I
house.
think we talked about this on an earlier podcast.
probably did.
Well, I'd hidden it in.
Well, because
Your house.
Yes.
Luke got hit with like
Yeah.
20 of them.
And this actually poisoned our social circle because I brought it up
Yeah,
in
the
my
story.
I brought it up in conversation to my girlfriend's mom, now my fiance's mom, and she was so impressed by this act of chaos that she insisted that she take all the Bibles that I accrued from all over my house, which wasn't all of them. I still hadn't found all of them at the time.
Are we talking like actual Bibles or the pamphlets?
They're like
the little pamphlets.
they're like little paperback Bibles
Yeah,
for
they were-
distribution.
Yeah, they were like
From
maybe
people's
50
mailboxes.
pages.
Yeah, okay. No, because I remember these, yeah.
Yeah, and she took them all to her. She has a deeply religious friend who lives across the street from her, and she took it upon herself to start hiding these Bibles around her house. But it went very poorly because after a while, she was acting very strange and very reserved, and it became clear that she was interpreting this as a divine act.
Oh,
Yes, and so it was actually quite cruel once we understood the context of it.
Did you just walk over and go, have Pate's Baroni? Gotcha.
But that's not cruel though, because it's not like the Bibles are. That's a good thing, right? It's not a bad thing.
It's
to
cool
get
because I think
biblical
she
texts.
knew that's how she was going to respond with distress because it was distressing.
But would it be? I don't.
Well,
see-
I mean, if you
I guess the implication could be that like you aren't studying enough.
Yeah, I feel like
So
I feel like
can see why
if you
that could be bad.
the only way to interpret it badly, I guess, would be like, yeah, just like you must read this Bible. You're not reading it. Have another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the owls in Harry Potter, like all the letters.
Yes.
You have to come to heaven. Read it.
It's so fucking hot in here.
It is pretty toasty.
I'm nice and cozy.
Well, fine.
I'm less comfortable now.
That's honestly probably more than enough bullshitting around. Do you want to see what time is on the thing?
I was going to say, do you want to do the conversation now?
Yeah, we can.
45.
45.
That's
So
okay.
that's pretty decent for chatting about with the
Yeah.
boys. So I think that the other thing that I want to do is basically I'm a good friend and I make my other friends do homework in order to hang out with me. Is basically what's going on here. So what I asked everyone to do, thank you, was I wanted everyone to
It'd be
do
a long
something.
kind of me.
And
Sorry.
I wanted everyone to play the original Legend of Zelda, like the original one, which was released in February in 1986 in Japan, and it came out in America, or North America, in August of the following year. So it's like 34 years old.
It's
It's
fucking
over
hot.
1,200 days old, 12,000 days old. It's a very old game
Wow.
relative to us. So I felt like it was a thing that we could at least have something to say about potentially, and like something to talk about. So really quickly beforehand, I picked up some other facts beforehand, some info
Yes.
on the release day. I don't know if it's meaning anything to you, Rory, but Uha Nation Apollo Crews, a wrestler, was born on this day. I don't know if you care about him.
Apollo Crews is great.
Great, good to know. Also born on this day, Alex, this probably means something to you. Leonardo Morachi, the soccer player, was born on this day.
Oh, with the mythological guy with the tits. Yes.
Great. I hope that video has come out before now, because otherwise
Why would I know about a soccer player? Soccer?
Well, and then also, again, we could throw this on the air. Someone, Carly Simon, the porn star, was also born. Don't know if anybody is familiar
Maddie's
with her.
not here.
Oeuvre, but she was also born today.
What, today?
Today, sorry,
This day,
on
no.
Legend of Zelda Day, August 22nd.
Legend of Zelda Day.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably
There it is. Oh, wait. I can't quite get
It's a
up.
little late in the thing to be
Yeah.
adjusting it.
It's fine. You know what? I'll be off camera for the rest of it. It's fine.
Oh, you're in. You're right. I just
Oh,
can't
good.
see.
You just can't see it on the viewfinder.
Oh, good. So yeah, I don't know. The only other stuff that I had for information for you was that like it's been re-released so many times.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, I owned it on like 3 or 4 different platforms, and I thought that version of it was the original version. Like I didn't have a concept of like the NES.
Which version did you have?
I had
like
the,
SNES or something? I don't know if they had a
I don't
SNES
think- I don't-
re-release.
I don't
No,
think they
well,
re-released
so,
it on
so
SNES.
they re-released it in 1994 for some like Famicom system. I don't know what exactly it was. Then in 2001, it was playable on the Animal Crossing for the GameCube.
Oh,
It was like a
That's
little
right, it
demo
was.
thing. And in 2003 for the GameCube, which was the version that I had, it was in like a compilation.
That's
disc.
what I had too.
It was also 2004 for the Game Boy Advance, 2006 on the Wii, 2008 as a demo on Super Smash Bros. Brawl, 2012 for the 3DS, 2018 for the Switch, and also you could play it obviously as like emulating it or playing it on a web browser and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like it's been around the block,
right.
you can say.
Yeah, I just played it on a web browser because I found a website that lets you play it, and that was like the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
I didn't have time to play it, but I do remember I had that same GameCube disc, and it had that, number 2, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and a Wind Waker demo?
I think so, yeah. yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
disc set. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that I don't know if anybody had any strong opinions about it, but I feel like it's one of those things that's like very everyone has obviously at this point heard of it.
Yes.
I don't know how many people have actually played it, and definitely how many people have played it to completion.
Yeah,
Right.
I get the impression from this group that I probably dislike that genre a lot more than any of you.
I'm not a fan of
Generally.
Legend of Zelda in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be more. I will say, in the time I played some of it in the last few days, I certainly like it more than I ever thought I did. There were certainly a lot of things to appreciate about it. First of all, the music. I think the music is very impressive. You know, it's old as fuck, but like it's still like
Yeah.
very it's a very strong character. Has a very strong character to it. It adds so much to like just the atmosphere.
Literally, the only problem with it is that because it's on the NES, it doesn't have a lot going for it, so it's very repetitious.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like after like 10 minutes at most,
Yeah.
you're probably like, turn
I've had
this
enough
down.
of
I'll
that.
listen to something else.
Yeah, I did find it after a while.
My-
The music was too much.
My hot take on Legend of Zelda is I actually prefer the original to Ocarina of Time.
Nice. That's
Oh,
the,
that
that's
is a hot take.
that's
That
is
is
a
a
pretty
hot
hot
take.
take.
I'm gonna have to leave the room.
Well, it's not, I don't hate Ocarina of Time. I think it's an amazing game. It's not my type of game that I enjoy.
That
and
is
I
fair.
don't know why. I've never been able to get into it, but the old school, just sort of like top down 8-bit. Oh, poke things with the sword. Go here, get this. Like, it's much more straightforward.
Right.
And it for me, it's just like turn your brain off, play a game for a bit. Whereas I just like that better than Ocarina of Time for some reason.
Ocarina of Time, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have a guide, it is a very
Well,
it's hard to navigate.
Really?
Isn't
Okay.
that
It's hard to tell because now
I was gonna say I have exactly the opposite takes. So this game made me appreciate.
Okay,
Yeah. So my first Zelda game as a kid, because I was Ocarina of Time, and I remember like even then, it was, like wasn't particularly good at like knowing how games lead you in certain directions or like how it's designed to make you do that.
Well-
but even then, I felt like I always knew where I was supposed to go and like what items did which and what order you're supposed to do it, without feeling like it was holding your hand. Like it's like open world for the N64 in that you can go to a bunch of places, but you never felt like.
railroaded, I guess.
Not really. I was gonna say you don't feel lost. Whereas with this one, like
you are lost.
Yeah, like it drops you in right away. You're in the middle of a field. Like there's one cave you can go to, and the old man
You
says,
for sure go to the cave.
Yeah,
It's dangerous to be alone.
Take your sword, and then it's like, oh, go anywhere, and you can go anywhere.
Yes.
But there's no impetus to go anywhere.
No, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I prefer that to Ocarina of Time, and I think it stems from me being a child and being afraid of half of the monsters in it when I was a kid, and like Goma specifically scared the shit out of me when I was like 6. So I never played the game again after that for a while.
I literally still have to like psych myself up to go down the well.
Yeah, right.
Because as a kid, it terrified me, and even as an adult, knowing where everything is, like I still like have to be like, okay, going down the well.
Well, I mean,
Let's
Shadow
do
Temple
this.
is objectively terrifying.
Yes, it is.
So, but I think that's the other thing that colors my opinion of it is I was like scared of the first boss and could never fight it as a child.
My sister's like incredibly arachnophobic and always has been.
Yeah.
So she like I always had to beat like any Zelda temple that has spiders in it. I have to beat for her.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts. Okay. Might be colored by that.
I felt like there was definitely a moment playing the original Zelda where I was like, I felt good for a moment. Because, first off, by some miracle, I just happened to go the right directions to find the first temple.
That's amazing, because like literally that was the last place I ended up. I searched pretty much over the entire map before I found that first
It's
temple.
a huge map with, like, if you don't follow the easiest path, you're just surrounded by extremely difficult, pain-in-the-ass monsters everywhere. So, I don't know, maybe I just took the path of least resistance or something, but when I went in, I'm like, this is just a random dungeon. And then, like, afterwards, I looked at the walkthrough, and they're like, go up here. I'm like, holy shit, I just went to the right place. There's, like, a million directions.
Yeah, because like, what's the size of the map? It's like 10 by 6 or some shit. It's pretty big.
Yeah,
at least 60 screens.
Yeah, it's around that. It's a little bit bigger, I think.
You can go to the wrong one first, probably, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, you can't solve it necessarily without the right.
I always ended up inside a tree, and then I kept dying.
Yeah, that is like
Yeah,
the first one.
First one, because it does say when you go into the dungeon, it says like level 1
Oh.
or whatever.
Does it?
It does?
It does tell you which
Wait,
one.
It said
Because
first one.
And then did I go to the? Because it said level 3 when I went.
yeah, you went to the third one then.
Oh,
That's why
I didn't
it's
even
hard.
go to the first one.
That's just
so
that's why it's so hard because I could get to I think I'm the one who's probably like have you guys beaten it? No. No. I have beaten it as a child, and I remember how to get around up to the third dungeon, and then after that point, it's like I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. And you get a bunch of things where it's like you go into a cave, and the lady's like, "In the graveyard, there's a thing to do," and it's like, "Where the fuck is the graveyard?"
Yeah, I never found the graveyard.
Like,
I found the guy talking to me
find-
over the
I
graveyard.
did
The
find
graveyard is
the
like
graveyard.
up north somewhere, I think,
Yeah.
but I don't remember where to go to. And there's a lot of stuff where it's like, break down this bush.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I don't fucking know, but you're gonna go walk around and throw your little magical fire
The
ball
candle,
thing
but
on
chickens.
every single tree in the game until you find the one that opens and gives you $40 or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, like one of. Oh, sorry, were you?
No, I was just gonna say that like it has a lot of things in it and a lot of things to discover, but a lot of the discovery is not in a sensical way. There's no way for you to discover it. You just had to know where
Like
things
you,
were
you
either
would,
from.
you would depend on either having a manual or guide or trial and error.
But
Like
that's
those are
the
the
next-
only two
but that's
options.
the next
to do it, but exactly.
Yeah, well,
And-
exactly.
And that's really
That's-
cool, and I think it's of its age, where it's like
Yeah.
in 1986, especially compared to like contemporary games that came out around there, that would have been fucking mind blowing.
It was for what it is. It was still innovative.
Yeah,
But-
exactly.
but
Well,
there
it
are
has to be
secrets.
because it's
Yeah,
literally
it
the
was
first
big
game
world,
that
yeah.
allowed you to save, which is
Yeah.
probably the most
Yeah.
innovative thing that
I think
ever
it
worked.
was the first game that let you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was
That's,
the first
that's
game
a
with
big
save
thing
function.
for sure.
I
And
didn't
that's
know
why,
that. That's cool.
yeah, stuff about like the resetting after you die, because obviously, again, it's in the late 80s, so it is kind of, it feels very arcadey in the sense that
Yeah.
like, you die so goddamn fast
Definitely.
in that game, but it's not super punishing where you just like respawn in the first place, and it's annoying to have to backtrack all the way to your where you wound up before. But
It's not as punishing as a lot of NES games.
So-
and it's also
yeah.
it's also better now than like something like Hollow Knight or Dark Souls, where if you die,
You lose a bunch of
you
stuff.
lose a bunch of stuff, and you have to go back to where you fucking died in order to get back your shit.
Well,
Whereas
you do
this
have
one,
to do that in Zelda, but
no, you don't
it's
have
easier
to
to
do that in Zelda
navigate.
because
You
you
get to
don't
keep
have to
your
go
items.
back there. You die and then you respawn. And it's like I don't want to fucking go there. I'm gonna go this other way now.
Yeah.
You are not forced
I
to
see.
go back to your corpse.
Yes.
It's-
The
so
only
it's
thing
actually like
you lose keys though in Zelda, right?
You lose keys?
Because
I
I
think
feel
you
like
do.
I found a key and then I died in the dungeon and then it was gone.
No, it's because the keys are no. I think
It
this
might
one
be
is free
because
because and I'm getting mixed up as well because there's so many Zeldas that I've
Yeah.
played that they're all kind of mixed up in my brain. But in later Zeldas, when keys are only functional in the dungeon in
Yeah.
which they are found. In this one, I think that predates it. So any key you find anywhere can be used anywhere else.
Yeah, because you can buy
You can
keys in
totally
stores.
buy
soft
them.
lock
Yeah.
yourself then.
You absolutely
imagine,
can.
right?
I think you
Like-
probably could if you were trying to. It's very hard though because each dungeon definitely has enough keys.
How would you soft lock? Because you just go back the path you came in. Like how?
No, I mean like just throughout the game, like if you instead of using the key on this one, you use it on
Oh.
the other one.
Yeah.
That doesn't lead to a key. Therefore, there's no keys you have access to left in the
You
world.
probably
You
could,
gotta
but that would
store
also
something.
I
mean
think-
that
yeah,
you
'cause
went
you can
into
buy
a
them.
dungeon.
You can buy
and-
them.
Yeah, so
You
it's
just kill like 160 little frickin'
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Goombas.
like, as far as the buying thing goes, that was like the most enraging thing I thought about the
Yeah.
game was that you have to grind for rupees.
Yeah.
Each enemy only drops like maybe 1 rupee. They don't always drop them. And like in other Zeldas, like I need rupees. I'm gonna cut grass. And here it's like, no, you're not. You have to fight an enemy.
Yeah.
Also, the depth perception to fight the enemy is very, very
yes,
minimal.
things that jump around
Yes.
on the screen.
You
I
have
don't
no-
remember
you
what
do
they're
not-
called.
They are
the
pretty
big
frustrating.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're called P something or
Like
other.
you can't
Oh,
even attack
yes.
those.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Like,
not
like
until
I struggled
later.
to attack that. I couldn't get
Yeah, I
it.
think you can blow them with bombs.
You
but
get more like the arrow.
The thing about the items in the game, it's weird because they're on like a weird timer. So I know in the speedrun you can like manipulate it to kill things in a certain way, and you can count the number of deaths so that when you kill the 10th enemy, which is guaranteed to drop an item, you can manipulate it so you know which item is going to drop. But if you don't know that, then you're just slashing things until eventually it's like, he dropped me $1, great.
Yeah.
And the real way that you make money is by knowing those secrets and burning a bush down, because there's so many of them where you burn down a bush and go in and the guy's like, here's $20.
So kids, always burn down bushes and take money from strangers that are living in bushes.
Well, the way I made money, and I could only do this on the Switch because I was able to create save states, was that there's one little cave where you can gamble. And like, I don't know how the game works. I know if there's 3 like things you can walk on, and it's like if you walk on one, it's like, oh, you lost 40. Oh no, I reload. Walk on that again. Oh, you made $100. I was like, I don't know how this works, but every time I made money, I would just create a save state.
Yeah.
And that was
That
the only way I could afford like the bombs, a key, like there's some other item I had to buy, and like you need some of these items when they sell, and because they cost so much, your only other option is to cheat or
Save scum.
or save scum or fight enemies. And of the two, the save scumming was by far the least
I
offensive.
feel like maybe the fighting enemies was more acceptable when the NES was fresh because
Yeah.
all the other games was just go punch enemies, like that was the game.
Yeah.
So then
Well,
this game was like, I'm punching the enemies, and there's like a world
Well,
arc
no,
story.
it also artificially extends the game, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
instead the game's like a 2-hour game, then that's
Yeah.
again part of the NES era, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also interesting to compare it to like actual open world games of today, because it is essentially a proto open world
Yes.
game,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of games kind of fall into that same thing where it's like, oh fuck, if you just walk down and do the main quests, you'll be done the game in like 3 hours or whatever. So we need to pad it by being like, here's a stronghold for you to go and punch some guys, and here's a thing on the map where you gotta go and solve me a puzzle.
Oh, and here's a guild to join with
Yeah.
some other stuff.
Exactly. Like
Give me
so,
those Riddler trophies.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to populate the world with crap everywhere for you to do, and this is essentially just that,
Yes.
but on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And I also think that I appreciate about it because I love Zelda. Like I
Me
grew
too.
up as a kid, like I had Nintendo, and that was pretty much the only thing I had until the 360, more or less, was just Nintendo stuff. So I played a fuckload of Zelda games, and I feel like I have a very nostalgic view on like, oh, the enemies are cool and the world is neat, and it's just a fun dynamic between like power, courage, and wisdom, and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff with Zelda, Ganon, and Link. And I don't know how much of that you would get necessarily. Like, I don't know how much of this I liked because of nostalgia and how much I liked because of the actual
Well, see,
game itself.
yeah, because I'm similar thing where like I was a Nintendo kid and like I love Zelda. But it like I can't say I particularly liked this game, but it made me appreciate like every other Zelda game I've played more because I see all the things that this did, and like whether it did it well or not, I can then see like in even Link to the Past, where it's like, oh, okay, so this is what they learned from it. This is how they made it better. And like even just like how you the order in which you get the items, the lack of like randomness in a way, like it. I don't know. I feel like streamline's a loaded word. Everyone's like, oh, your game's streamlined and it's railroading you.
Well,
That's
it's
bad.
evolved. I think maybe it's a better word. It's
Yeah.
Evolved.
Exactly. And so, I don't know, it definitely made me realize, like, from this, they made Link to the Past, they made Ocarina of Time, they made Majora's Mask, yada yada yada, and I just felt like, damn, this game did a lot of work for a game I didn't particularly enjoy playing in the year 2021.
And I think that's the other thing about this game in particular. It's hard to look at it with fresh eyes.
Yes.
Because we see its legacy all the time. Because the Legend of Zelda series has informed so much of the gaming space and how people develop games and stuff. It's interesting to return to this game and be like, oh yeah, it's really good, instead of being like, well, it's garbage compared to these games. Like,
right.
even Link to the Past or Link's Awakening, like the ones just after it.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening was SNES, right?
Link's Awakening is on the Game Boy.
Yeah, it's Game Boy.
Okay, yeah, so...
The next one is Zelda 2.
Zelda 2, and I
That one's bad.
I think that one's objectively
I
bad.
don't think it's bad, but it is different. It's one thing. It's basically like, what if they made Halo and then Halo 2? They were like, fuck it, Halo 2 is a beat 'em up now. Like it's just, they changed
And it
everything
doesn't make
they could do.
any sense
Yeah,
how
it's-
you enter dungeons.
Yes,
It's like,
It does not.
I'm not going to defend the Zelda 2, but it is fun to be like, it was a time when games could just be like, fuck it, we're racing games
Yes.
now. Like, everything's different.
which we
For
need
no
to go
reason.
back to, honestly. I want like the random weird kart games from this like Fortnite racer.
There
or
is
some
like
shit,
the Smash Bros style ones, like the
Yeah.
Nickelodeon one now. Like that's
Yeah.
sort of.
Oh, the
there.
one I'm looking forward to is the Warner Brothers one, because you can be Gandalf fighting Batman,
Oh, yeah.
fighting Bugs Bunny. It's so wacky and dystopian. Like, it's just like, it's a capitalist's dream. It's
Yeah,
like,
the
here's
next
some IPs, I'm putting them in
Yeah.
one thing and you will consume.
The next up is Burger King versus Coca-Cola.
Dude, if you made a
Pepsi Man.
like a fast food fighting game, I would play the shit out of
Absolutely.
that game.
Dude, I've got Burger King Big Bumpin' in the other room. We should play some of that. I actually got all three of the Burger King games: Big Bumpin',
this is a real
Pocket
game.
Bike Racing, and
Sneaky.
Sneak King.
Oh yeah, I forgot they
Yeah.
actually made real Burger King games.
Yeah, we'll have to play them.
So I want to. I feel like we could sit here and talk forever because we're real good friends and we like hanging out.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should probably end there, and I want to end with just getting everyone to give a review, like
Yeah.
a rating of the game, whether thumbs up, thumbs down, a score, whatever you want, however you want to do it. But just give me your ranking for what you would rate The Legend of Zelda playing it today in 2021.
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, so I looked at Luke because you're at the end, but
Yes.
whoever wants to go can go.
Sure.
If you have
Zelda, in spite of my bitching, it is a thumbs up because I think it is a good educational experience just as far as like here's where we started versus here's where we are. Yeah, just I'd say play it just for the experience and to say you did.
And because it's extremely easy to play these days.
It is like you can
Yeah.
find a version of it nearly anywhere. So
Just Google it.
yeah,
Literally Google it.
like don't go in expecting it to necessarily be great, but go in with an open mind.
It's not bad.
It's not, and it's not awful. I'm making it sound worse than it really is, frankly.
There's a lot of disclaimers and asterisks with recommendations for like
There
all
really
these fun
is.
games.
Yes.
I'll give it a thumbs up too, because there was one moment when I was in that first dungeon where you have to blow up a wall. I'm not sure if it's any wall or just the specific wall I found, but you get the compass and you can see a little dot and figure out kind of like that. I must get towards that dot, so I was able to figure out which wall I would theoretically explode to get to that. And in that moment, I'm like, I figured it out, and I felt good. And I imagine if it was like 1987 and I was a kid, I'd be like, whoa, that is so cool! And I would tell all my friends, like, you gotta blow up the wall, man. I figured it out. They would go home, blow up the wall, and it would be like,
You'd
I
be
think
God. You'd be like you'd be revered at school.
I think that is lost in us because who gives a shit about this impossibly stupid wall to find? But I found it.
I'm going to recuse myself from voting because I didn't get a chance to play it this year, and it's been several years since I did play it. I do remember enjoying it, but I'm not going to inform.
It would be responsible of me to also recuse, but I'm not that.
Yeah, go for it.
I will say I didn't get very far into it at all.
Don't tell us, tell them.
At all, but I do actually want to play a little bit more. I'd like to see where it takes me. There's definitely a lot of annoying things about it, but one of just the little details. I just as an example, like I appreciate the little things in games, the little details that are like make you realize that someone really put thought into something that a lot of people might not have even ever considered. certainly not the person playing the game. But like, for example, when you kill an enemy and they're just sort of outside of like the walkable area and they drop an item like a rupee, you can't like walk over to pick it up. But you can extend your sword and use your sword to pick it up. When I first did that, I was like, that impressed me that they actually thought to change the hitbox of the sprite to actually not only just as an attack but as a thing to pick up items. Like, that was very thoughtful, and I appreciated that quite a bit because I would have been very frustrated if I wasn't able to reach that.
The boomerang can also grab you stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even get the boomerang yet. And I also would really want to play more Ocarina of Time. I've only played like about 40 minutes of it, and I'm in the like. There's a tree. I think the tree.
There's always
a tree.
The
Yeah,
tree's the first one.
I was only got as far as into that tree.
That's
somewhere.
literally the first dungeon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that is a better game. I think it's a historical game. I'll absolutely give this 3 Triforces out of 3. As playing it as an actual game itself, I feel like there are just better Zelda options at this point, and I don't know necessarily that if you're looking for like the Zelda experience, the best Zelda experience you could ask for, I don't know that this is necessarily it. So in that context, I'd give it a boomerang and 2 bombs.
Do you think you'd recommend the SNES one, Link to the Past?
Link to the Past.
Yeah.
I think
recommend that.
people
more.
typically would use that as the reference.
It is very, very good.
I think so. I think it used to be, well, it might be the best 2D Zelda, but I feel like there's other things that you could, like Link Between Worlds is really good now too, so there's many different arguments you can make. A Minish Cap is dope, so...
What about Spirit Trains?
Yes, but I don't know, I feel like there's Zelda is a very interesting, neat world, and it's got obviously fucking 30 plus years of lore to it now, so there's a Zelda for everyone. Whether or not this one is it, I don't know.
Like, I love Majora's Mask. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And that's
Fucking
okay.
Majora's Mask with the time mechanic.
The time is what I love.
But so thank you for coming back to the first / most recent ABOP thingy. I want to pimp. I stream on Twitch, so you can come follow me at Dad Wizard. Twitch.tv / Dad Wizard, all one word, DADWIZARD.
Yeah, we got a great
easy
video. We had a great time playing A Way Out.
Luke and I play A Way Out. Rory and Alex come by and play board games sometimes. Connor exists.
I'm in school.
Do you have anything else that you want to recommend for people? Anything you want to promote? I did bet you do.
I want to promote buying toilet paper before you run out.
I want to promote socks.
And Luke wants to promote his SoundCloud, which is SoundCloud.
I do? Oh yeah. Well, I mean, when I
You have
eventually
SoundCloud?
put more music on it.
Oh, you have the SoundCloud now?
Well, he's
Yeah.
had it for a long time. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe it's a newer one.
I mean, I haven't posted
You get
anything on it for like
sermons.
2 years, but you know, sooner or later, I'm going to have stability and time to make more music and put some more music on there. And I'm looking forward to that. And so should you. Bye bye.
Those buttons for us. Oh, my ass is sweaty.
Yep.